Batman. Welcome to the Comic Binge. I am your host, Paul Herman. Today I am with one of my really good friends, Ryan Haas. And today we're going to break down a little bit of the new trailer for the Batman movie that's coming out. That's really weird. I hear myself. This is really weird. Oh, because I have the YouTube thing open. Anyway, back to what I was saying. We're going to break down the Batman trailer, and we're going to also recommend some comic books for you all to read. So this is going to be really exciting. So let's get started. Hey, hi, Ryan.
Yo.
Yeah, no, sorry, everyone. I was listening. I had no idea my YouTube thing was open. So, like dum-dums here, I'm just like, oh, why do I hear myself? This is awkward.
So anyway, it's weird.
Oh, I heard my voice. It's really weird. So anyway, thank you all for joining us. If you haven't already, please like, subscribe, all that stuff. I do a horrible job of that, Ryan, before, but now I'm trying to get better.
That's why I put my Twitter right here the whole time. So when people watch the show, they know.
If I was smarter, I'd do something like that, but I'm just not that smart. So it's whatever. But, so today we're talking about DC fandoms, the Batman reveal, the trailer, obviously huge buzz around that movie. And we're going to talk about that a little bit. I know you probably talked about it ad nauseum yesterday. I have not yet. So I will talk about a little bit what my feelings are, but mainly we're going to talk about the comic books that I think that, if people are excited about the movie, obviously these movies are inspired by the comic books. So let's give them some comic books that maybe they'll want to read, but to get them through to March, because this is going to be just like every Batman film. It feels like there's going to be some kind of amalgam of different stories are going to be just sloshing together. And this is no different. It feels like, so we're going to talk about those comic books, but first let's talk about the movie the movie and the trailer itself. And I know you've already given your thoughts, and I haven't yet, so I'll let you go first. You don't have to go crazy. Just kind of give your general thoughts of the trailer overall.
Yeah, so I thought the first trailer last year was maybe more like shocking because it was the first footage we had seen of the movie, and we got like the concept, like that showed us like what this movie is, what the concept is.
Yeah.
But I think this new trailer really delved into like the tone and the story. Like there's a lot of really good character stuff. The first trailer was Batman, but in this one we see Batman, we see Bruce, we see Alfred, we see a lot of Selena Kyle, we see a Riddler, and we see Penguin, we see a couple of shots of good shots of Gordon. So, and the cinematography and now that the movie's all shot in the can, like I just feel like it's a better overall picture of like what the movie is going to offer us in terms of the visuals and the story. So it looks spectacular, and it looks like it knows what it wants to be. And I think we were talking on the phone last night. I feel like this just feels like superhero filmmaking executed on the highest level. And just like the Nolan trilogy, in my opinion. So I'm excited to see this thing, and I can't wait for March.
Yeah, Mark. Listen, the movie. I love the first trailer, like bar none. I thought it was an amazing teaser for everyone, and it was shocking. Like I think that's a great way of saying it, because obviously we're getting a different Batman, and I'm going to say this right now. I thought the trailer for the most part was great. It was very shocking to see Batman bulletproof, like full on bulletproof. Like that was a little. It was great to see. I love the visuals of it. I've
seen a lot of discussion about that. Yeah,
I have too. It's interesting. I'm into it. I don't see why it wouldn't be. I think everything about this movie looks great, looks entertaining. It looks different on a scale that even the Nolan films didn't do. Even though obviously it's in the same kind of vein, right? It's not the Nolan trilogy, but it definitely is not shading away from it. And I think that's good, because I think after the Snyder stuff again, I like Snyder stuff is not like an anti-Snyder thing at all, but because
you love ZSJL.
I love, oh my gosh, Justice League is so good.
Yeah.
The Snyder cut's amazing.
What's great about comics though, you can like more than one person.
No, right.
Material, yeah.
And obviously every writer has a different, obviously different take a lot of times, at least as far as what they want to personify in the characterization of the book or the characters, whatever. But with Snyder's take, it definitely was a little more obviously in the superhero kind of like realm, which again I love, and have a Superman take on like aliens and stuff like that. But with this, it's kind of more back to that Nolan idea, but it's still different, and that's what's really interesting to me. And I love seeing Zoe as Catwoman. That was great, and seeing to me, the biggest surprise was seeing Riddler and not knowing what exactly his role is going to be, because he gets arrested at the very beginning. They show you right off the bat. I'm like, oh, okay, that doesn't really, I don't know what this means exactly, but all right, let's see what happens. But Paul Dano, I think to me is going to be, I think the secret weapon of that movie. It seems like, but and then they're not showing us much, and I think that's purposeful. So we'll see what happens there. Pattinson, I think looks great as Batman. Everything looks great. I think everything looks fantastic. I think the Penguin looks great. I'm going to be a little bit trepidatious on one thing, and we talked about it yesterday. I talked about it a few times with some people who love Batman, like myself, and are huge fans. And I said this on Twitter, so I'm going to kind of announce it here. I have one kind of concern about this movie. And I'm curious what everyone else thinks. And I haven't had time to look at the comments yet, so I will check that out and read those out loud before we get into comic books. But into your response to this, so if you're kind of wondering what my take is, here's the thing. My main concern about this movie, and you already know what it is, Ryan, but is this going to be a little over dramatic, just as far as Batman just brooding the whole time, kind of a thing? And that's what gets me kind of worried. Is that, and again, I say worried very loosely. It's not like I am worried, but I'm just a little concerned that it might be just a little bit too like Batman losing his temper for like 2 hours. And I don't know if I'm going to be like want to watch that without having some kind of anchor bringing it, at least home, because he's got to give some kind of clarity at the end of the movie where, because obviously, and we talked about this yesterday, the costume he's wearing is obviously an external, representation of what he's on the inside. It's not woven together, super well. It's kind of hodgepodge put together. He's not completely centered as a person. And that's obviously the story they're going to tell. And I'm excited to see how they do it. But it does make me a little worried that, that one scene where I couldn't understand a word he said. And I had to ask people, what the heck did he say? And he's like, what have you done? I'm like, whoa, what is going on? Like, what does he say here? I don't know. And I'm a little worried. That's like, it's, I don't know. I'm a little worried about that. Am I deeply worried? No, but I'm definitely going into it a little bit trepidatious as far as what's going to happen. And if it's going to be just a brooding fest for 2 hours. But go ahead and respond.
So like, I've been thinking about that a little bit too since we talked about it last night offline, and I think that's just like,
thank you, Andrew.
Yeah, I just think that's going to be the journey this movie takes us on. A lot of the things that Matt Reeves has talked about is this Batman's internal struggle, and I think this is a Bruce Wayne that both you can see this in the trailer and in the like the behind the scenes stuff they're talking about it. This is a Bruce Wayne, like he even says in the trailer, I don't care what happens to me. He's very driven. I think the line between, at this point, 2 years into his career, I think that the line between Bruce and Batman really isn't there for him. I think he's just Batman.
Right.
And he's trying to, he's going very hard at being that and trying to overemphasize this like unstoppable creature of the night kind of thing. And I don't know what will be the thing that centers him, or if he will be able to get there at the end of the movie. But I think the movie is the Batman. It is about Batman. We're going to see the other characters surrounding him test that and question that. You see that in the trailer. You see Alfred do it. You see Selena Kyle do that. And you see Riddler push his buttons. And I'm sure we're going to get a lot of good interaction with Commissioner Gordon too. Like they will. Those characters will give the counterpoint to Bruce's rage or his anger. Like we'll see him be like brooding and stuff, but like they'll be asking them the same questions you are right now. Like, why are you so moody, or why are you doing this? And the movie will give us those answers. Like he'll have to answer for himself in the film. And I think it's going to be, and for me, that's why this movie is so compelling to see this iteration of the character and see how he actually is going to make his way through these challenges.
Yeah, and I think that to me is what gets me excited. I just don't know if I want to. I was worried that it's going to be like that the whole time, because the only thing about the trailer I would say is a little bit. It's not even bad because I love over the top stuff, but the tone they're going for is very serious. But like when the whole penguin thing was like, "I gotcha," and then like all of a sudden they have this car flying through the air, and it feels very 80s to me. It's in a good way, but it also makes me go. I don't know.
Feel like the thing too is we're watching a trailer with a lot of moments from the film just like
no context,
thrown at
right?
you,
no
context,
right.
And I feel like Reeves is going to be able to thread the needle and set these things up to where, like, when they do happen, you will be bought in. You will be there with the film, and when crazy things happen, you'll be there with it and buy it. Yeah.
Right. No, that's a great point. And I want to state that I really like the trailer a lot. Again, no movie's perfect. And some of the red flags that I've seen, and again, I say red flags very loosely. I'm not like saying that they are, but a couple of things I'm worried about are those two things I'd be kind of watching out for. And we talked yesterday a little bit too, Ryan, that I'm not sure if I'm going to watch another trailer, to be honest. I might just skip it and just be like, you know what? I want to say the rest of it, because I've had a lot of success of movie. I've enjoyed movies way more by avoiding things. Like I'm going to go see Dune on Thursday in the IMAX, and I have not seen, besides the one trailer, I haven't seen anything.
Chris said that y'all went to go see some movie, like Venom or something. He was like, "Yeah, Paul, you can't talk about the Matrix," but he just left and wouldn't watch the Dune trailer.
Yep, I was like this the whole time, and I was like this, and I just try to avoid. I've avoided almost everything, and I'm really happy because I have very little knowledge of what's. I know the story because I've read the book and all, whatever.
Yeah,
but yeah, so I'm really excited, and I think the Batman's going to be a lot of fun, and I'm really hoping that to be honest, and this like why the channel exists in the first place. I'm really hoping this movie gets people reading more Batman comic books, because if there's one character or two characters, in my opinion, that are going to get people to read comic books, it's going to be Batman and Spider-Man.
It's crazy how much in the interviews already, like Reeves and Pattinson specifically, seem to always bring up the comics when they talk about the other films and stuff, but they always go back to the comics every time. Before we get into comic books, I saw Pattinson bring up Tom King's run, which again, I'm not here to like, but like it wasn't from like fandom, but it was an interview like Tom King showed, and it had like it was Chinese subtitles or Chinese. What it was, I don't know what it was exactly, but I was like, what interview is this from? So if anyone has a link or has an explanation, please let me know. Because I think there was like a international fandom interview that came out, and where it was like a different interview than what we saw.
Yeah, and he talked about he went back to the gold. He said he referenced Golden Age, which I thought was really cool. Again, brownie points for Robert, knowing the ages.
Yeah, he said he read tons in that interview. He said he read tons of comics. He was just
and
like,
Tom King
was full of them. Yeah.
He said he read all. He said even the recent stuff I read all. I was reading up to all. He referenced Tom King, and again, cool on Tom King. And I love Robert Pattinson. I really do. I think he's great in the Lighthouse. I don't love the Lighthouse, but he was not the reason why I didn't love it. He was great. So, I don't. Again, I say overacting because I'm a little worried of what we're trying to personify in this. I just want to stabilize Batman at the end, and I want a legitimate reason why. So I think they'll give it, and everything else looks great. I'm excited to watch it, and I can't wait to watch it with Chris and whoever maybe will join us in the future. So anyway, let me see if there's any comments that I need to talk about. It was good for the most part. It's a little over the top for me, a little over the top, but again, it's fine. It's whatever. I still think it's cool, but I don't know. The backbone, is it really going to be a backbone?
I think it is.
How is Selena Kyle making a backbone?
We talk about this too. Like,
I know. I don't get it.
In the trailer so much. There's so many conversations about it. And whenever they are doing this behind the scenes stuff, it's Reeves, it's Pattinson, and it's Zoe Kravitz. Like, those are the stars of the movie. And it just, and I thought she would just be like, oh, we're just sprinkling in villains here and there, and you'll get to see a little, like a Long Halloween, like just a sprinkling of people. But it seems like this Selena Kyle version is going to, like she's gonna have just as much of an arc in this film as like Bruce Wayne will. So
Right.
it's really fascinating.
And that's fair. And that's fair. So anyway, we're going to talk about some comic books. And basically what we're going to do here is I'm just going to, Ryan gave me an amazing list of stuff. We're not going to break down every comic book because we'd be here, till like 3 a.m. in the morning if I give my take on some of these. I haven't read all of these. I have read some of these. So we'll kind of go in a weird list. I'll skip that one comic that I forgot that wasn't part of our little list here. But we'll start with this one.
We can talk about it.
Oh, we can. Okay. Well, we'll do that. We'll do this one first, and then go grab that one here in a second if you want.
Sure.
We'll talk about this one. This is the one we don't want to talk about.
That one.
Of course. Not that one. Ignore that. Nothing to see here. No. We'll start off with our boy Pete's favorite character, the Penguin. He keeps talking about him. I'm assuming he loves him. So
he talks about Oswald all the time.
Yeah. So tell me why you picked this comic book, Joker's Asylum Penguin #1.
Yeah, so like of course in the Batman, Oswald is a major character. It's hard to find a lot of like Penguin stories where he's either the main character or outside of the like traditional like gimmicky Penguin or whatever. He first really started to be really kind of a prominent gangster version, like around like the No Man's Land type of era, like post Nightfall and everything. But I picked this one just because one of the more popular choices these days is like Penguin, Pain and Prejudice. So I didn't want to like retread that too much. So I picked this one.
And that's Ostrander, right? Not this one, but the other one is Ostrander, right?
No. Ostrander did like Penguin Triumphant.
I have that one. That's one. That's one I have. Okay.
Yeah. That's a good one too. But this one here, the Joker's Asylum, I forgot what date that is from, but they did like this Joker's Asylum banner where it was like the Joker recounting tales of the other villains, like, and you would get a lot of it was a good chance to do a lot of one shots that either were like origin stories or like stories just featuring those characters. And I think that was so successful they did like I think 2 of the Joker's Asylum like miniseries collections, and they were pretty good. Since this is the comic binge, like this issue here, this is on DC Universe Infinite. Like you just pop on there and read it. And it's one issue, and it's a pretty breezy read. And a lot of
Jason Aaron.
Yeah, and a lot of these stories, like this one is a lot of these cool Penguin stories. Like they really get at like how like sadistic he really is, or how he kind of like overcompensates with violence because of his physical appearance, and this one kind of dives into some of that. And actually it's kind of like an echo. There's an episode of the animated series, I forget what it's called, but it's towards the end of the run that's similar to this, where the Penguin kind of gets and actually there's even a Batman 66 episode that's kind of like this, where the Penguin gets like involved with like a love interest. And,
I love that episode. He becomes good, right?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a great. Yeah. I love Burgess Meredith. I always love. He's so good. And I want to say too, I also love they don't call it Arkham Asylum, they call it Joker's Asylum, so they can sell it more because they put Joker's name in it. I mean, again, you gotta love it. Yeah, I love that marketing. Yep. Well, if we call it Joker, is he even in the book? I'm just curious.
Yeah, he narrates it. Like he's
there. Okay, all right.
Yeah, that's why they call it that, because Joker's like, here's my friend Oswald, and we'll see what happens to him this issue.
All right.
So it's cool. Like, and even of course. Oh, what was I gonna say? Oh, I don't know. Oh, like the way that the Penguin is like sadistic in this version of the Penguin reminds me a lot of what you can hear in the recent Batman the Audio Adventures. That Penguin is also a really interesting. Have you not listened to that?
I'm not listening to that crap, dude. I got the comics. Come on.
Hey, listen. Whenever you're on your morning walks, where you're walking, listen to the Batman the Audio Adventures. It's great. That Penguin in there, they go pretty far with like some of the twisted stuff that he does, and it reminds me a lot of this comic.
I'm gonna read this tonight because again, I love breezy reads. Dude, read it to me.
I'll never get it. I'll read it to you.
Read it to me. Anyway, I'll read this. It's on DC Universe.
This is, yes.
I love, that's one thing I love about comic books, by the way. Like, because I'm not an avid reader besides comic books. that I love the fact that because an ADHD mind like myself, I can just sit down and read a comic in 22 pages and feel like I've read something.
Yeah.
Instead of like, sit down and read, I have to like, a chapter. It's like, oh my God, for a book. With a comic book, it's 22 pages. I'm like, all right, I've accomplished something. I've read something.
Yeah.
It's perfect. I love comic books. All right. Anyway, we're going on to the next one. This is interesting. I've seen this a couple times in stores and whatnot. And reflection. And tell me about this book. I'm very curious.
So this has jumped up there in a lot of people's lists over the past few years as the Riddler is becoming more known, or not more known, but whenever the next villain is like the highlight of a movie, stories like this come to the forefront. And so there's not a ton of big Riddler mastermind stories. There's like actually a decent handful at this point. But just like the Penguin, at least the Riddler has some stories like this that you can really say like this is like a legit like top 5 Riddler story probably. It's Peter Milligan. It's quite long actually. It was a really like it was a crossover in Batman and Detective back in the day, and you got like Tom Mandrake.
Is this New 52?
No, this is like 90s.
No. Oh, okay. That's what I thought. Because Milligan wrote in the 90s, I thought.
Yeah, this is 90s stuff. Like this. Okay. Yeah, you have like Jim Aparo art and Tom Mandrake art. Yeah, and so it features. So it's one of those stories like before Hush even that has like Riddler's kind of underappreciated or like underestimated and like how dangerous he actually could be. Yeah. And this story like definitely brings in some like supernatural kind of stuff. Like I didn't really pick this story because of that stuff, because that stuff isn't necessarily like linked to like Batman. But what is like about the underestimated Riddler, how dangerous he really can be, and using some things that are intrinsic to Gotham City and exploiting it to like create chaos for Batman. And those elements that are in some other stories, and that I think at its core is definitely something that we'll see echoed in the Batman film.
And I've read some Peter Milligan stuff, and obviously besides Batman, and I've read some of his Batman stuff back in the day too, and it's solid. I mean, he's an underrated. I mean, he's obviously a name in comic books, but I feel like people don't talk about him enough. It seems like it's in general, and he created Toxin that's in the new Let There Be Carnage movie, so which is hilarious. So just kind of throwing it out there, but this is one of the ones you gave me that I was like, okay, I might have to go pick this one up, and
I would.
My wife,
it's very bingeable. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
See, I need to pick this up because it's again, it's just, you recommend it, and I trust your opinion, but now I'm like, I have to wait till next month to pick it up because my wife's been like, you spent too much money this month. I'm like,
it's on DC Universe. You can read it.
I want a physical copy. Dang it. So anyway, all right, moving on to the next.
This for $7 bargain price somewhere.
$7.
Yeah, I think like a Books A Million or something back in the day.
We don't have Books A Million here. We have half price books. I love half price books.
Oh, I would make that trade. I like the half price books.
Me too. All right, now this one.
Yes.
This one's interesting. Okay.
This one is, I don't want to call 0 Year contentious, but
I've heard it's contentious.
I would say it's contentious amongst like upper echelon Batman super fans, which I would call us. I would call like the BOF guys that like
BOF guys are definitely upper echelon.
They were asking. They were kind of like Scott Snyder kind of earned the right to do this story. Like, not that people have to earn a right to tell a story like this, but it's like they were kind of asking for the comparison by calling it 0 Year and making it I think it's 12 issues. It's a long story of retelling of Bruce Wayne about Bruce Wayne becoming Batman and what his see how contentious it is.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean,
wow. Yeah. That's hilarious.
So it takes a lot of classic year one, not just year one, and it's not a retelling of year one, but it's early Batman, and it takes a lot of stuff from like early comic books, like early Red Hood and the Purple Gloves and things like that, and tries to like recontextualize it. And one of those parts was bringing Riddler in as one of the first major Batman villains.
Okay.
And so that plus Riddler kind of trying to control Gotham overall, and is another like, you know, even more so like element, like Reeves is probably like pulling or influenced by this story for that kind of thing. Like this is where a lot of the modern Riddler is kind of comes from, is this Scott Snyder Zero year. I want to reread Scott Snyder's whole run. I'm not so masterpiece level on it as some people are. It for me, it's very up and down from what I remember. And I feel like I need to reread it, a lot of it, to give it another shot in the brain. But there are enough good elements in this story that I felt like for making a Batman comparison for the movie, where it was worth recommending, because it's very bingeable. It's a big old long story that's like a certain era in Batman's life. Of course, I would always say read year one over this, but like, if you're wanting to like binge some comics before the Batman, this is probably a good one.
You know, and this is something that I have seen a lot about. I did not know Riddler was even remotely a part of it. And that gets me more interested in the story, to be honest. And I'm one of those people who's not really a giant, Scott Snyder fan. I don't think he's bad, but I read Court of Owls a long time ago, and I need to reread it like yourself. You know, you want to reread a bunch of these books just to kind of see what's going on. Yeah. And I just don't have the same like, oh my God, this is amazing. It's like, it's good. It's not terrible. I haven't read Black Mirror yet. I heard Black Mirror is a masterpiece.
Black Mirror is great.
Yeah, and I know it's Dick Grayson Batman, which I'm a big fan of. I actually really like Dick Grayson Batman a lot, mainly because of Grant Morrison and his run on Batman and Robin with Quietly. So yeah, I think this is something I definitely want to. You definitely piqued my interest with the fact that it's about Riddler. I thought when you first suggested it, I thought it was going to be probably a more broody Batman, like not a retelling of year one, but kind of in that same area. Because I don't think you could ever.
Broody. He's pretty broody, and will do and kind of and is pretty like, you're definitely see him like being tested. This is a Batman that's being tested and trying to figure out like who and what Batman is, like a unformed Batman, which is why it's called Zero Year. So yeah, there's some connections there too, for sure. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Let's see here. I'm going to see what else we got here before we move on. Yep. Yeah, and I've heard that from many people that either love or like me. So I know that I need to read that. Maybe I'll read that before. I'll do a binge before. I'm gonna do a bunch of comic binge episodes before the Batman movie comes out, because obviously people love Batman and I love Batman. So Capullo is fantastic. I actually was a big fan of Capullo before, because I'm an OG. No, I was not just because of Spawn, because of his X-Force run with Jeff Loeb, which was a fan. His X-Force stuff was great, by the way. I love his X-Force stuff. And
did you read Beyond? Is that what it's called? Beyond. The thing he did with for Image. What's it called?
Well, he was on Spawn forever. I'm not sure what he did. What he did besides Spawn. So I have no. Oh, he might have did a creator own thing. You're saying? Is that what you're saying?
With Millar, Mark Millar.
Oh, what was that?
What was that called?
You're right. I forgot. Someone say in the comments.
Someone say in the chat.
I have no
Whatever
idea.
it was good, because I read it.
I have no idea. Well, Capullo is amazing. So it doesn't, whatever. So, all right, moving on. This one is interesting. The writer alone.
Reborn. It was good.
Reborn. Okay, Reborn. Christos Gage, or whatever is Christos. Yeah. I can't pronounce anyone's names.
Yeah.
This one's interesting. He's a Spider-Man writer. So is this a digital first?
This, I believe, was digital first. Yeah, and you can tell, like, reading it, like, all the pages will have that nice digital first split down the center of the pages, so the panels aren't, like, as dynamic as you would want, right? Because they were presented on a phone or whatever, on a digital canvas.
Right.
But this story is basically Telltale Batman 1.5. It takes place in the Telltale Batman games universe.
Oh, okay.
And it takes place right in between the first and second like seasons of that game. And those games are really good too. Like if you're not doing comics, those those games and this story are really good fodder for the Batman, I think, because that is also kind of it feels like a lot in the same vein as like a Batman Earth 1 also, because it's a untested Batman, or Batman who's like getting used to things and what Batman can be. And in this storyline they have, and we'll see, like this is a big question for the Batman movie, of like about how the Waynes are involved in things, like from the first Batman trailer about how the Riddler tells Bruce, oh, you're a part of this too, and you'll see. So like, but in the Telltale universe, in this story, Bruce finds out that Thomas Wayne was actually like not a good guy, and like was part of the worst parts of Gotham City and did bad stuff. So like it was, so it goes for that whole like the Waynes weren't good angle, which I'm not a huge fan of. And we covered this, and me and Ryan Lauer covered this story on
Lauer.
The Batman Book Club. On the Batman Book Club, we covered this story. I think I put that in my notes. It's
Book Club did it.
It's like episode 62 or something like that. You can go back and listen to it. But
episode 805, and he's got and Lauer's got like 40 episodes still in the bag, and he hasn't posted yet.
Yeah.
You know, and oh god, I love you, Lauer.
Yeah.
I'm not. Which, by the way, this is kind of an insider thing. I'm not gonna say what episodes I'm gonna be on, but I should be on next month.
Ooh.
For finally, we're gonna get to the thing we're gonna get to. Me and him. We're just gonna do it. Me and him.
Well, that's good.
Yeah. It'll be a lot. I'm really excited. Which again, I've been wanting to talk about that forever. So I'm ready to go. Oh, okay. Yeah. Gage is a solid writer. You know, I've read a lot of his Spider-Man stuff with Dan Slott, and I thought it was interesting that he's a writer on this thing. I thought it was interesting. So, yeah. All right. Well, moving on to the next one here. Again, this is a lot of fun. We gotta do this more often. This is cool. Grabbing someone that, you know, this one is interesting because I've read this. I have this specific version actually, which I love because it totally is. Yeah. McFarlane. It's weird because McFarlane only draws like what, 2 issues?
He draws it towards the end, and this story has a really interesting history, right? Like. Right. This is like one of the stories that Todd McFarlane comes in and does like interior Batman art and some covers too. Like, but it was basically because the guy the Alan Davis that started it, like either got offended or something with some of the artwork, and he was like, "Screw this! I'm not doing the rest of this issue." And Todd had to grab Todd to come in and like finish it off. And this deluxe edition, I think, actually goes into a lot of that like backstory of like, well, how that came to be and
really
what happened. Wow. Yeah, I mean, but this is where that classic like super long, crazy ass Batman cape came from. You know?
Yeah. So, and obviously loosely inspired, you know, the Phantasm, you know, and everything.
Allegedly did. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But there's so many similarities. It's hard to ignore. That.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where it's like it's not. They try to say it's not inspired. It's like, sure, yeah, wink, wink. Yeah, you guys are all original ideas. Yeah. You're not adapted a comic book or anything.
Yeah,
you know. So yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, it's one of those things, man, where you know I just feel that this one was it was a hard read. I'm not gonna lie. This does not read very well when I read it. I wasn't a big fan. The art's great when McFarlane's on it.
Maybe that's why the deluxe edition is such a joy to read, is because the art is just so giant in it. Like it's cool because I don't know, like some of these older comics, I just feel like it does it a service by having it this giant, like, and I have concessions too about like, oh, this was part of like, we have people, Pete loves it. He loves it, and it's not a good story.
Well, that's fair. I mean, I just didn't like it myself. I couldn't get into it.
I need to read. I have not read. Well, if I have, I don't remember much of it. The sequel to this, the Full Circle one. Like the where the Reaper comes back, and I think Mike Barr had said that he tried to rectify some of the pacing issues or whatever that from this story in that one. So there's kind of a duality to it.
Okay.
So
And this one you picked because it's kind of like broody Batman kind of a thing.
it's broody Batman. It's
that
Batman with the gun on the cover. You know what I mean?
Well,
Like,
right.
It's supposed to be earlier Batman figuring things out and like, but this one has like some past and present thing. And again, that's kind of like a Mask of the Phantasm thing too, where like, oh, Batman's past comes back to haunt him, kind of stuff. But yeah, it's another one that plays that brings elements in that affect what Batman thinks his methods or mission should be that you don't normally see in the monthly comic.
All right, lean over a little bit to the right. This picture I saved didn't. Yeah, there you go. All right, this one, I love Jeff Johns. I love Gary Frank. I've heard so many things about this. I have no idea if I should read this or not.
What the hell, Paul? Have you not read any of these?
I have not read any of this. No, I've not read anything. Nothing.
If there's one comic series out of everything that that's on the show today, I would say
Don't say it.
Earth 1, 2, and 3. All three of them. They are excellent. And as somebody that just loved the hell out of Three Jokers, I don't know why it's such a hard sell.
It's no, I'm not hard set. It's just like the Earth 1 stuff has been so. I've tried to dive into it. I haven't got into it. I haven't read the Batman stuff, but I know a lot of people are super into it. So
yeah,
the fact
the Superman ones are good. Green Lantern I need to read the new one, but the Green Lantern is really cool.
Who wrote that first Green Lantern one?
I don't know. I have it on the shelf.
He's got it on the shelf, people.
I do.
He's got it on the shelf. Who?
Whoop, whoop, whoop. There we go.
Who is it? I can't read it. I can't read that, man.
Gabriel Hardman. Karina Beshko.
Yeah,
I think Hardman is the artist. Oh,
yeah.
Written by Beshko and Hardman, art by Hardman.
Okay.
Yeah, they're really good. But like
the cover looks amazing.
So I would say like vibe-wise, like the Earth 1 books and this trilogy especially, they read like movies. Like you can breeze through them like movies. They are so kinetic in how the story is presented. The art is fantastic. And these definitely are like Batman through a more realistic, reinterpreted lens. Like the characters, they do stuff with them you haven't seen before. There's a lot of stuff in here that just feels like it could be like the Batman version 0.5 or whatever. Like, and even look at the cover here. It's like Batman with human eyes with stitched cowl.
Yeah.
If you open this book up and read in the first few panels, you'll see that this is a Batman that does not have his stuff together. That is like, you skipped through the next book. Because
I want to get through all these. So yeah,
Earth 1, read them. They're great. Riddler, there's Riddler stuff in it. There's Penguin stuff in it, and there's Catwoman stuff in it. That all is pretty relevant to like how
because
the interpretations of things.
I've seen a lot of people love that series, and the fact that you're telling me again makes me go, okay, I need to read these. So
yeah,
this one is really interesting. I read this recently. Wait, hold on.
He just said Earth 1 Volume 2, Great Riddler story better than Zero Year. Yes, absolutely.
All right, you may have convinced me to read that over Zero Year then.
Yeah.
This one, I have heard so many people talk about this book for so long, and I never read it. And I like Darwin Cook. He's a phenomenal artist. I have.
You not read it?
I read it. Yeah, I read it a couple months ago, and I bought it at Half Price Books, used.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, it was great. Which Half Price Books always like. It's weird. Sometimes they'll be this graphic novel's out of print, $40. It's like, dude, like majority of graphic novels are out of print. Like, you idiots, like don't like do this to me. So anyway, so anyway, this has been a book that I expected to be longer. It's only 2 issues?
It was issued as like a prestige format, like 48 page thing or whatever. Like it's short. Yeah.
Yeah, it's short. It's phenomenal. It's a phenomenal story.
Really good.
I mean, it's again, without giving any spoilers, people, I'm going to say it right now. This is definitely one of the better Batman stories you'll read. And if the movie's going to be inspired by the ego like mentality, it
Yes.
does give me like some like help as far as, okay, maybe it's not gonna be a broody Batman film the whole time, because there is elements of that duality in this story. But it's done very well, and I'm curious how that will tie into the movie itself. But the fact that they use this as inspiration, that was Matt Reeves himself, went early on in making the movie.
Yeah.
Very interesting. So
yeah, like they're like
yeah,
next
go ahead.
year, what they're doing they have like the Batman comic book box set that's coming out that has Long Halloween, Ego, and Year One in it. Like as like these are the 3 books, like top tier books you should
Awesome.
read. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
It takes Batman on a psychological journey that you do not see in most other books. Like I put that Ego in the same breath as like Batman and Venom, like in terms of like taking Batman himself onto a really deep like trip.
Yeah, and again, I'm not going to spoil this for people. They got to read it. It's a great story, you know. And
Darwin Cook, written and illustrated. Yeah.
It's just a tragedy that he's passed away, and a phenomenal talent. So yeah, definitely recommend. I read this. I loved it. I didn't read the whole, like there's like backup stuff too. I wasn't getting into that. There's a black and white like Batman Catwoman thing, I think, at the end. I wasn't into that as much, but the actual
I don't think I have that version either. I've got the first edition, just Ego.
Right.
Yeah.
This one, and this one is like, this is the one I have with a different logo at the top, like basically of DC.
Yeah.
But and again, like the rest of the book is like the graphic novels, whatever. Like if this is one you want to easily could just read on DC Universe, I think it's on there, and just read it. It's a great little, like, it's a quick read, but it's fantastic, and it really, I can't recommend it enough. Last but not least, Long Halloween. Explain why this book is on your list here.
Batman Ego is on.
Yeah, I figured it was. I thought it was. Yeah.
Why wouldn't it be? Like Reeves brings it up. like he talks about it.
Does he? Oh, yeah. Okay, I know he brought it up.
That's part of the Batman box set.
Oh, like, is it really? Okay.
Yeah. Because whenever and he says a lot, like Batman is like, it's going to be told through this film noir lens, and whenever you say film noir Batman or noir Batman, one of the first books that jumps out as being an influence for that, or something that a lot of people attribute to that, other than like the original 1930s and 40s comics, is the Long Halloween. I mean, just look at the cover. It's all that Tim Sale art is like shadows and light and darks and blacks and gangsters. This is a Batman that straddles that line between the old guard and the new guard in terms of the gangsters versus the freaks coming in and stuff, and Harvey Dent is at that line, and that's why he's kind of like, he represents both things. So that's part of it too, and again, this is a Batman that is untested, that I don't want to say untested, but is forced to reevaluate how he operates and what he and his contribution does to the city, and that's the kind of pact that he forms with Gordon and Dent. And of course we saw a whole lot of that inspired in the Dark Knight trilogy, but
right.
But a lot of those elements, I think definitely, like visually and tone wise, I feel Reeves is looking at in this, maybe more so than story, but we'll see.
Yeah, I agree with that. This is, I have said it on Twitter before, we're going to have a special Long Halloween episode covering this comic book. I just reread this, so I'm going to save all my thoughts for that. We hopefully will get Ryan with us when me and Chris review it. I want to get Lauer on, but I'm sure Lauer he's so busy. But again, Lauer,
if he passes up an opportunity to wax poet about the Long Halloween, then he will. I mean, he'll be on it.
He's busy, man. He's a busy boy. So but Lauer, if you're listening, I'd love to have you on the show. But again, I'm not saying you have to, make an obligation, but just if you want to be on, just let me know.
He can show his 48 copies of the versions? Absolute edition.
When I posted, I had my version of this comic book I was reading, because I took a picture of me reading it. He's like, "Oh, it's a great version." Yeah, he was
Yeah.
like, "That's a great version." He's like, "The paper's perfect. It's not glossy." I was like, "Spoken like a true diehard." I love it.
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
it. This is definitely a great Batman comic book. That's the one thing I'll say about it right now is I think it is great, and I can't wait to dive deeper into it with everybody in the future. So this is gonna be really exciting. For me, I'm trying to think of other Batman stories that I'd recommend. I mean, besides like the obvious, like Year One, your obligated, Year One. Oh yeah. So tell us about this one last Catwoman book, and we'll wrap up.
So this is for Pete. Pete made me get this. This is the movie adaptation of Halle Berry's Catwoman, and I would not necessarily recommend reading this to prepare for the Batman, but there is a story in it that is reprinted because like that only takes up half the book, but they put other Catwoman stories in it, and it's got Catwoman Zero. This is the '90s Jim Ballant era Catwoman.
Oh
so
yeah, I love.
So Catwoman Zero is in this, and this was part of like the 0 Hour crossover stuff where they kind of
0 Hour.
0
Okay,
Hour.
yeah.
They reset.
0
It was
Hour.
a chance for them to reset the universe and like recontextualize some things because when this '90s Catwoman started, like they kind of threw out like the Year One stuff and all that, and this issue kind of combines them into a new iteration. They're like, okay, yeah, she was that Year One or whatever, but basically this is a story. This is like a Catwoman origin story, kind of. It's a tale from when Catwoman was a kid, and it shows like how she had like a no mother and a kind of an abusive father, and how she was thrown out on the streets, and kind of how resourceful she had to be, and kind of where she learned how to kind of survive and what she wanted to do in life. And so it's just a cool, and it's on DC Universe Infinite also.
Oh, yeah.
And so
Yeah.
it's a quick read. It's a single issue. I don't think a lot of the one-to-one like this is what the character is going to be like in the Batman, but a lot of that resourcefulness and way and approach to life I think you'll see probably in the Batman. So it's definitely like
Right.
another cool example of Catwoman stories that you see a ton of.
Yeah, and 0 Hour had a lot of great issues in it. Actually, I thought I had Robin Zero, which is a retelling of all the Robin origins.
Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah, we
great
covered
issue.
that not too terribly long ago, maybe a couple years ago on the Everyone Loves a Drake podcast. Yeah,
right. That's awesome. Yeah, no, and that's this is great stuff, dude, man. I think you've given us and the listeners and the viewers a lot of great material, and I for me, I want to read all this stuff, and I can't wait to dive into all of it because I'll probably
it's making me want to reread some stuff for sure.
Right. I'm trying to think anything. Again, I haven't read like every Batman thing in known to man, but I can't really think of anything that you haven't covered that's like Long Halloween's like an Ego are like so easily like the perfect
like those are like
essential.
I would like those are like read these even if there's not a movie coming out. Like those are just
great,
right. Which is why I try to get some other deep divey kind of things in there, but.
No, which is great, which I love. And again, we got to do this more often because this is, I got to get more people.
It's
this
good.
Is great,
I like getting a prompt and then trying to find books that fit into that. So
yeah, because there's so many books, and that's the thing about the comic binge that I'm trying to, promote the medium because it is an overwhelming thing to get on even the DC Universe and saying, where do I start? Well, here you go research this, and I second what Peter said. Great list. I'm excited. I want to, so much stuff I want to check out here. So Ryan Haas, you're on like 800 million podcasts. Where can people find you?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at SMB_Ryan. SMB stands for Super Mario Brothers, as in the movie, as in the 93 movie. I run a website about that on Twitter at SMB Movie. I also run the BOF's sanctioned Batman Podcast Network on Twitter at BatPod Network, and kind of poke at BOF's Instagram on Instagram at Batman on Film. And I'm also part of the aforementioned Everyone Loves the Tim Drake podcast. It's on Twitter at ELTD Podcast. And oh my goodness. And if we want more fandom and Batman trailer talk, I was just on Pete and Eric's Straight Outta Gotham Iceberg Lounge live stream like yesterday. So if you check out I think their YouTube channel, Straight Outta Gotham, then that was a nice, fun panel.
Right, and you're gonna, and honestly, that you're gonna have. If you liked what Ryan Haas did here, I'm sure he dissected every millisecond of that trailer.
It was good.
Yeah, I'm sure you guys left no millisecond was wasted in that analyzing yesterday, I imagine. So, yeah, check all his stuff out. Again, I've been podcasting with Ryan for a while now. I love him. He's awesome. Yeah, thanks for coming on, man. This
I
has been
love
great.
coming on the comic binge. It's so good. Every time.
I love having you, and we'll have you on again soon. Hopefully for long Halloween. Hopefully we'll get that going on. Yeah, maybe. You can find me on Twitter at Hermer22 with 2 N's, aka P-Thug. You can also find me on this, or not me, but the Comic Binge, I should say, on Twitter and Instagram and on TikTok. And if you search it out, you'll see the logo, because they're all different usernames, and I don't feel like showing them all, to be honest. So it's too much work. I'm too lazy for that. And I got some cool stuff happening this month besides Long Halloween. I'm pretty sure I've got something it's small, but it's a big deal for me.
Had that cryptic tweet. I saw that.
Yep. It might actually happen. It's almost done. So I'm really excited. We'll see what happens. In fact, if I can release that this month, it'll be a big deal. So we'll see what happens. Again, look for that. I'll get an announcement. You'll definitely get an announcement with that. And the people I'm working with on it will be on it with me as well. So a little tease there. So please follow, subscribe, all that stuff. I appreciate anyone who leaves a comment, has like the videos. Really appreciate it. And Chris isn't here, but I'm going to end it for us. So read more
comics.
Read more comics, guys. Great. So everyone, thanks for all joining.